Welcome to True Crime Tales with AJ. I'm your host, AJ, and this is my true crime channel. Welcome back if you've been here before, which no one has. So, welcome back to me. But it's okay. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. Okay. The next story I will discuss is the tragic case of JonBenet Ramsey. JonBenet Patricia Ramsey was born August 6, 1990, in Atlanta, Georgia. She's the younger of two children to Patsy Ramsey, a former beauty queen, and John Ramsey, a businessman. JonBenet had an older brother named Burke, and she also had older half siblings on her father's side. JonBenet Ramsey was an American child beauty queen. JonBenet was an outgoing Southern girl who enjoyed being the center of attention. By the age of 6, she already won a multiple pageant titles. Patsy Ramsey entered JonBenet in various beauty pageants in Boulder, where she won the titles of American Royale, Little Miss Colorado, Colorado State All-Star Kids, CoverGirl, and additional titles. Let's look at the timeline of what occurred on the day JonBenet Ramsey was found deceased. 10 p.m. on December 25th, 1996, John and Patsy Ramsey said they last saw their daughter when they put her into the bed on Christmas night. JonBenet had been up late that day with her parents for a party. 5:30 a.m., Patsy Ramsey gets up to make coffee, and she reports finding a 2 to 3 page note on the bottom of the staircase stating that JonBenet has been kidnapped. The note was also demanding a ransom of $118,000. So I have the ransom note here. Let's read it. Okay. And the ransom goes, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. Sorry, I got a message. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to this letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 will be in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup time of your daughter. Any deviation to my instructions will result in immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you to not provoke them. Speaking to anyone about the situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert the bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Victory SBTC. Okay, so that was the ransom note that Patsy found. And she found the note again at 5:30 a.m. So at 5:52 a.m., Patsy calls the police detailing the kidnapping and the ransom demand. Minutes after calling the police, she called her friends in the neighborhood to have a search party to search for JonBenet. 5:59 a.m., Officer French arrives at the scene. the first of many Boulder police to respond to the call. Police officer Rick French arrives at the home and does a search. He actually paused by the door in the basement that JonBenet was later found behind, but he doesn't open it. From 6 to 8 a.m., four more police officers arrive at the Ramsey residence to help in the search. At 10 a.m., the first detective on the case is Linda Arndt, immediately begins her investigation, but she fails to secure the crime scene. 10:30 a.m., John Ramsey goes missing for at least an hour, leaving the house to supposedly get mail. It was later determined not to be true as the family mail was delivered through a slot in the front door. Okay, 1 p.m., Detective Arndt tells John Ramsey the police will be conducting a search of the house. John and his friend Fleet also joins in the search and was to start in the basement. 1:05 p.m., John and Fleet discovers JonBenet's body in a spare room in the basement. John Ramsey picks up JonBenet and lays her in the living room close to the Christmas tree. 1:30 p.m., Boulder police Ron Walker and Larry Mason arrive to search the basement and wine cellar for future clues, and they secure the home, preventing further entry. 1:40 p.m., John Ramsey calls his pilot and is allegedly heard asking him to prepare a plane to Atlanta, but law enforcement instructed the family not to leave town. 1:45 p.m., the Ramseys leave the house with plans to stay a night at a friend's home. Okay, and 2:30 p.m., police spoke with JonBenet's brother Burke, which revealed the 9-year-old allegedly slept through the events of the previous night. 10:45 p.m., the Boulder coroner team removed JonBenet's body from the home. December 28th, the family goes to the Boulder Police Department and provide hair, blood, and handwriting samples. December 29th, the Ramseys go back to their former hometown of Atlanta. December 31st, JonBenet was laid to rest in Marietta, Georgia, next to her half-sister Elizabeth, who died in a car accident in 1992. January 1997, JonBenet's parents gave their first public interview with CNN on New Year's Eve from Atlanta. April 1997, the Boulder District Attorney Office labeled Patsy and John Ramsey as the main targets of the investigation. John was ruled out as the person who wrote the ransom note, but Patsy was not. On April 30th, 1997, JonBenet's parents held a press conference to announce their innocence. July 1997, JonBenet's autopsy was unsealed. The autopsy report stated JonBenet official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with cranial cerebral trauma. A cord was wrapped around her neck with a paintbrush attached that came from Patsy Ramsey's art kit. Her mouth was covered with duct tape with red fibers on the duct tape. JonBenet's hands and feet were also bound. Unmatched DNA was also found in her underwear. JonBenet's death was ruled a homicide. In the year 2000, the Ramsey family published a book proclaiming their innocence, which became a New York Times bestseller. The title of the book was The Death of Innocence. And the family also gave a sit-down interview with Barbara Walters, maintaining their innocence and that no one in their family harmed JonBenet. In the year 2006, Patsy Ramsey passed away from cancer. In 2008, the family was cleared through DNA of the crime. At this time, the Boulder Authority also sent an apology letter to the family. Even though the family was cleared, the public was still torn if they believed the family has something to do with the case or not. Okay, that's just a brief update of what occurred from the time JonBenet passed away up until 2008. The story was really complex and I had a lot of information, so I just tried to report the big pieces of the case because the story is extremely complicated. Okay, now let's rewind a bit and look at some of the evidence from what occurred the night JonBenet was found deceased. Okay, now let's look at the first evidence of the ransom note. The ransom note that was found by Patsy, which made her realize her daughter was missing. The ransom note was a 2.5-page letter that demanded $118,000 from the family. John pointed out to the police that was on the scene, that was first on the scene, that the amount was nearly identical to his Christmas bonus, which suggested that someone who would have access to that information would be involved in the crime. The FBI noted the ransom note was unusually long and also was unusual for a note to be written at the crime scene, as the note had practice drafts that were written with a pen and a notebook from the Ramseys' home. According to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation report, there are also indications that the writer of the ransom note was Patsy Ramsey. However, the evidence fell short of a definitive conclusion. The police believed the note was staged because it did not have any fingerprints except for Patsy and authorities who handled it. A board-certified forensic pathologist who had consulted with both sides of the case said he has never seen a note like this in 60 years of his experience, and he did not think it was written by an outside stranger. A federal court later ruled it was highly unlikely Patsy wrote the note, citing 6 certified handwritten experts. Okay. The second thing we will consider about the night of JonBenet's disappearance is the only people that was known to be in the house was John, Patsy, and Burke. So we know Patsy called the police at 5:52. She also called family and friends. The officers did not have any signs. The officers did not find any signs of forced entry. Officer Rick is the one who went to the basement and arrived at a secure door. The secure door had a wooden latch on the frame. Had a wooden latch on the frame, so he paused and it was not open, as he was looking for an exit route by the kidnapper. Since the wooden latch was holding the door closed from the inside of the house, he concluded the intruder would not have used that door. He concluded that the intruder would not have used that door, so he never went inside. As it was later learned, JonBenet was behind the door, deceased. So he was looking for an exit route, and he concluded that could not have been an exit route, so he didn't take off the wooden latch. We also learned JonBenet's bedroom was the only room in the house that was closed off to prevent contamination of evidence. No precautions were taken to prevent contamination of evidence for the rest of the home, while friends and others arrived at the home to show support. Visitors picked up and cleaned surfaces in the kitchen, possibly destroying evidence. Okay, now let's also review what neighbors reported the morning of the crime. At 12 a.m., one neighbor reported remembers seeing a light in the Ramseys' kitchen. 2 a.m., another neighbor remembers hearing a scream from the Ramseys' home. Her husband also remembers hearing metal on concrete. 2 years later, the neighbor backtracked and said she actually heard the noise 2 nights prior, not the early morning of December 26th. Okay, now let's look at some of the theories of what happened to JonBenet. Okay, one popular theory is JonBenet's parents are responsible for her death. Patsy was believed to be a strict mother, and some claim she physically punished JonBenet for peeing in the bed and accidentally killed her and staged a kidnapping to cover it up. Another reason why many believe the parents committed the crime was due to their strange behavior after the crime. There was also a lack of footprints of any kind in the snow surrounding the home the night of the crime. But as we know, in 2008, both parents were cleared of any involvement in the crime. Another suspect was her brother Burke. The theory was her brother Burke, who was 9 at the time, committed the crime by striking his sister with a flashlight out of anger. But in 2008, he, along with his parents, were exonerated. Another theory was John Mark Kerr, a former school teacher. He had been arrested in the past for multiple charges of child pornography. In 2006, John Kerr sent emails to another professor revealing his sexual fascination with JonBenet and confessing his involvement in the crime. John was then reported to the police and arrested in Bangkok. He was flown back to Boulder for questioning. Despite his disgusting confessions in his diary entry, he was cleared after his DNA failed to match the profile of the unknown male found in the waistband of JonBenet's long johns. In 2006, it was reported he's now living a new identity and gender in the Pacific Northwest. Another theory was a Santa Claus impersonator named Bill Reynolds. Bill Reynolds was at the Ramseys' home dressed as Santa Claus 1 week before the crime for a Christmas gathering. He was rumored to have paid a little too much attention to JonBenet and attempted to arrange a secret visit from Santa Claus on Christmas. He was investigated by police and was cleared of any involvement in her death, and he passed away in 2002. The list goes on and on about possible suspects involved in the case. And additional suspects includes an electrician, a housekeeper, a town drifter, and others. As of today, the case remains unsolved. Well, that concludes the story of JonBenet. So what are your thoughts on this case? What do you think occurred? Who do you think committed the crime? This story is extremely tragic and complex. So that was just a quick recap of the JonBenet Ramsey story. I'm sure I missed big chunks, so if you want to mention it down in the comments below for everyone to read, that'll be great. So yeah, I will be back with another story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If there's any stories you want me to cover, you could put it in the comment section below. And I just want to say thank you for watching and take care.